Good evening. I'm Chris Matthews in San Francisco. Let me start tonight with Mitt Romney's tax policy. Don't pay it. That's one way to get rich. Don't pay taxes, any, for years at a time. And that's one big fat reason he's not going to tell you about those tax returns. He's going to tell you nothing about those years he was building up his wealth. Got it? Nothing. Instead, he's going to unleash his dogs to bark that his rival, President Obama, a guy who's released all his returns, doesn't know how to be an American. Again and again, Romney and his right-wing allies push this line. Limbaugh, he hates America. Bachmann, we've got the Muslim Brotherhood sneaking around in the government. Demand that it's the most anti-American administration in history. What a horror show. A candidate who hides who he is, sends out his wolf pack to say the other guy is the enemy within. Creepy is too nice a word for it. Way too nice. And this guy wants to sit in Lincoln's chair. Robert Costas, political reporter for the National Review, and Maggie Haberman is the senior political writer for Politico. I want to go to Bob. Thank you so much for joining us, Bob. You've had a unique experience that's sitting with Mitt Romney, talking about something he'd least of all want to talk about, his tax returns. Give us the TikTok.
So I spoke to Romney this morning, Chris, and he's digging in. He's sick and tired of talking about his tax returns, talking about his offshore investments. He wants to move on. I'm not so sure if he's going to be successful, but his whole strategy today in our conversation was to push back against Obama, show some spine, and say he's going to play a little hardball with Obama's allies, and he's just not going to give in and release anything pre-2010.
Why not? Does he give you any sense in his denial? What's he so sensitive about? Can you tell?
Well, he's sensitive because he says to me today that he's already released hundreds of pages, and he said to National Review today, I don't want to release hundreds more, thousands more, to let the Obama people, and quote, lie about these thousands of other pages of his pre-2010 returns. He, I think, is not nervous about what's in the returns, but about the political consequences of making his tax returns dominate the conversation.
But what in his previous returns, he's given us 1 year and an estimate for the most recent year, what in those returns has been distorted? What's his claim to be somehow a victim here of his own limited tax disclosures?
I don't think it's so much being a victim of what's in the returns. He just does not want this dominating the conversation. Romney's whole campaign, as we all know, is pegged to being former CEO of Bain Capital. He's running on his business success. So he's just playing a political strategy here, nothing else, not really complaining about the exact distortions, but rather he's just trying to change whole nature of the campaign.
Well, I think he's hiding something. In Pennsylvania today, where Mitt Romney's campaigning, the Obama campaign is running a TV ad that zeroes in on Romney's tax returns and asks what I'm asking. What's he hiding? Let's listen to it.
Tax havens, offshore accounts, carried interest. Mitt Romney has used every trick in the book. Romney admits that over the last 2 years, he's paid less than 15% in taxes on $43 million in income. Makes you wonder if some years he paid any taxes at all. We don't know because Romney has released just one full year of his tax returns and won't release anything before 2010.
You know what? I put out as much as we're going to put out.
What is Mitt Romney hiding?
Well, let's go to Maggie Haberman. I've got great confidence in your ability to track this baby down. And my question is this. My way of measuring this, studying politicians for all these years, is if it's better than it looks, they'll tell you. And if this looks like there's something he's hiding, he'll have to deal with that effectively by telling us what we want to know, which is that it's not as bad as it looks. Now, if it isn't as bad as it looks, why won't he show us his tax returns?
I think that you have a point, certainly, in terms of that if things could look worse. I think that he is concerned that even if it's not, as Bob said, even if it's not bad, it will be made to look bad. The problem is that he is a very wealthy guy. He is earning investment income, which is a little different than the way most people make their money.
Explain.
And so things are going to show up differently. He is getting money, in other words, instead of a yearly salary, because he has been not at Bain for a long time. He is making money off of investments. So remember,
which means he's paying what rate at the most?
Correct. About 15%, I believe, was his last effective tax rate. I might be off by a point or two, but that was a controversy during the primaries, and that's where this whole tax return thing snowballed and became an issue around the South Carolina primary back in January. I think he is concerned, even if it's not, hiding, even if it's not specific details, I think he is concerned about trying to explain to people what this all means for someone who is wealthy and someone who is making his money in a different way than, many Americans do. And I think in terms of the Swiss bank thing, that's the one piece that they do feel, or at least one of the pieces that the campaign does think has been distorted. Their argument is the Swiss bank account showed up because he reported it on his tax returns, therefore he paid taxes on it. The Obama campaign has said he didn't. But again, this is the kind of thing that is not something average voters have, and it requires a lot of explaining.
It's also because he wants to lower the tax rate for corporations and shift the burden to more humble people. Anyway,